He said, Felton, and he's choking on his smoke and everything. He said, you would deny us a hit over this you and Michael going through.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another edition of On the Groove Line. And as you can see, I have a very special guest in transit at the moment. And I want to thank him for making time to talk to me today. I've wanted Con Funk Shun on this channel for a long time since I started. And it's an honor and a privilege to have one of the co-founders and the current lead guitarist, Mr. Michael Cooper, join us today. Coop, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm all right. As I was saying, I'm up to my neck in the grandpa alligators today. Yesterday, I was with the sheriff department. They called me at the last minute. And so I can't be still. But, man, I had to make time to come join with you, see what you're talking about.
And I appreciate you for doing so. So we're going to get right to it. So earlier this year, you guys had a street in Vallejo named after you. When you started this band over 55 years ago, did you imagine that your hometown was going to be able to honor you the way that they have?
Well, I tell you one thing, it was my hope that they would. We started out, I guess you could say we were old souls as we were starting at 16 and 17 years old. We all got our driver's license. We were playing the military bases and the high school after game dances at a very young age. So we had to be very business minded at a young age. And so that was the goal, to finally come home triumphant in the music business. And we actually did better than we thought. We actually came back to Vallejo a number of times. We moved to Memphis and, we got our recording contract, came back probably 10 or 15 times to play our hometown with hit records. So yeah, my plan worked.
And let's talk about that those early days as projects. So you guys, you stumbled into some really good luck with the Soul Children. You came through for a band that didn't come through for them, and the Soul Children called on you guys, and then you got that call to go to Memphis and record at Stax. What was that whole experience like? Guys being 19, 20 years old, moving from the Bay to Memphis, where you get to rub shoulders with Isaac Hayes and David Porter and those guys. Like, in the Barcades, how did that help you guys, develop your chops as musicians and businessmen? It was a wonderful experience, and it was a shocking and surprising experience
that everything worked out, the timing worked out to where the Soul Children's band out on the West Coast, they came from Memphis and everybody's out on the West Coast, and they wound up getting fired. They wound up getting fired.
You're still on.
There we are. Yep. Yeah, the Soul Children's band wound up getting fired, and it was just perfect timing for us. We were at the top of our game as a local band, and we knew all the hits. And they brought their drummer in, and their drummer taught us the ropes. We only had to play like maybe 4 songs at the Angela Davis rally, and man, we killed it. And they said, "That's it. We want you guys to come to Memphis." And they rented us a station wagon. And we said bye-bye to our parents. Our parents thought we were crazy. And we hit the highway for Memphis, Tennessee.
So when you guys were able to get into the door at Stax, you meeting up, you hanging out with the Barcades, David Porter, Isaac Hayes, and all of those guys, just what was that experience like, being alongside those type of, geniuses every day and, learning from them?
Well, it was euphoric. The Barcades were mentors for us. We went and we snuck into a place called Basin Street West in order to see the Barcades, and we were very underage. And once we saw them, it was toast. We were toast, man. Lights were out. It was over with. We had to get to Memphis, Tennessee. We had to turn professional, actually, and sort of hurry things up. And we were in a very serious hurry. At 17, 18, we had one guy, I was 18, one guy was still 16. So the parents were really leery about him leaving. But yeah, it was euphoric, man. We wound up actually backing up Soul Children and Rufus Thomas when we got to Memphis.
Yeah, and I remember the unsung episode you mentioned that you guys were really nervous and performing in front of 100,000 people, and you said you were backing up a guy in pink hot pants. That's still one of my favorite quotes from the entire series. Just what was that like, being in the LA Coliseum? You guys were 19, 20 years old, and you're performing with, the guy who called himself the world's oldest teenager, and you're getting the response that you guys got that day at the LA Coliseum.
Okay. Fear is the only word that comes to mind. You can say, well, we were so nervous. Nah, we were petrified. We were petrified. We knew the music. We knew what to expect from Rufus, but we did not expect 102,000 people. That was euphoric. We were, and Rufus knew we were nervous. And that's when you see him get on the stage and he starts yelling in the microphone, "Hey fellas, y'all ready for it?" And he did that so we could just slightly calm down enough and wake up. And he says, "Hey fellas, y'all ready for it?" And we say, "Yeah." He said, "I say, are y'all ready for it?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, here it is. Y'all do the heat out the dial." Dude, we hit the breakdown and them nerves went way away. Those nerves were gone. Man, we hit the breakdown, Rufus in them hot pants and them white boots. And I'm telling you, that was the greatest thing to ever happen to us until along came our children. And then, of course, Bruno Mars covering Love Train. One of the greatest things to ever happen to us in this world.
And when by the time you guys get back to Memphis, you're starting to, build the show, cut your own records and different things of that nature. I had an argument with a friend of mine the other day, about how a lot of artists today are afraid to start small. And you guys, went up and down the South, developing your act, developing your chops. What do you think? Do you think that people who get into the music industry today are just too gung-ho to just automatically jump to big stadiums? Do you think that they need to sort of develop as younger artists and, do smaller crowds first?
Well, the days nightclubs and places to play are a lot fewer than they were. The internet has changed everything. And people can, I don't know what happened other than the fact that it just made nightclubs and going to nightclubs and hanging out and having live performance places to play was just hard to do. It's just a lot harder for musicians to get a band going. Let's start a band and start playing. And we started in garages and playing, and finally we got one gig at the high school and another gig at say the military base. And then we would start getting the word around, and they would stack up those types of gigs. Today's band got a hard time finding places to play. It's just, if you don't have hit records and you're not a recording artist, it's really hard to get booked down at the so-and-so club or at the so-and-so Air Force Base. And it's possible now, not to say it's not possible. I'm just saying it's a little bit harder today on bands. So the drive to start a band, to try to become professional and try to turn pro, get into recording industry and make records. And then, of course, where are the records gone? The records and the CDs and the cassettes, all that's gone now. So we're best we can with what we got, but the internet can be utilized. That's another good thing about the internet. You can utilize the internet to your advantage if you start out that way, thinking that, okay, we're going to perform on the internet until someone calls us for a gig. So what can you say?
And just to, jump a little bit ahead in the story, you guys come up with a record called Ffun in the fall of 77, winter of 78, and it ends up going #1. In fact, you guys knocked Earth, Wind & Fire, Serpentine Fire off of the top spot in R&B charts. Just when Ffun took off like that, what was that feeling like for y'all?
Crazy. You had to pull the car over to listen to the whole song every time it came on the radio. It was crazy. And again, man, so many things happened.
Just that moment of realizing, was that the moment you guys felt like you had made it as a band?
Yeah, we felt like we had made it as a band and as a recording artist. But you know what really sealed the deal? What really sealed the deal was when the company called us. Ffun was going to be number one. It was coming up the charts. It was like number 14 or number 11, and whatever conversations that took place in those days for a company to have spent the both legal and illegal money to get you there, they knew the song was headed for number one. And they say, but listen, we need a backup. We need a backup because we can't just leave the charts and then wait for you guys to go back in the studio and start all over again. See, so this doesn't become a fluke. We need you guys to get us another record now for us to release. And we were in the studio, but we were also on tour for Ffun. So we had to, in the middle of the tour, go in the studio and come up with something. And here's this, Con Funk Shun's full of stories. We were in Mobile, Alabama, and we were at a football game, and the band, we were playing in Mobile, and the band had rehearsed Ffun, 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 which was, of course, on the charts. So we're sitting in the football stadium, right? And we get this, we had the band came out and they played Ffun, and they formed the whole thing, 2 F's, a U, and an N. So, and this thing is haunting me that I have to write another song. At the time, everybody's looking for me to write the funk. And so I said, okay, we had a studio on the bus. I'm going to go back to the hotel, go back to the bus. I jump down, get out of the stands. I get down to the stoplight, and I'm walking across the street to the Holiday Inn. This guy rolls up with his window down, and he's blasting this song, right? It's a white guy, and he's blasting this song, and it's going, sugar, da, 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 oh, honey, honey, da, da, da. And I'm listening to that, and I'm going like, hey, I get to the bus, and in 30 minutes, I wrote Shake and Dance With Me.
Ooh, I knew that sounded familiar.
Yeah, so Shake and Dance With Me, right up until it changes, the music changes, and Sugar, Sugar by the Archies, both verses can be sung on the song.
That is
right?
incredible.
So
That is incredible.
I used that texture to write the verse sections of Shake and Dance With Me. I was done with the song in 30 minutes. All right. We had to, at that time, you weren't doing too much flying. So we had to jump on an airplane and fly back to California and go straight into the studio. I'll never forget this. Our normal studio was booked. So we had to play in a studio called Different Fur. And we went into the studio and we threw down Shake and Dance With Me. They mixed it and sent it out to Chicago. Before we could get home off tour, Shake and Dance With Me came on the charts at something like 45, which was high.
Yeah.
It debuted at around 45, 50 something on the charts, while Ffun had hit number one and was just starting to lose its bullet and come down. And the 2 songs crisscross on the charts. That
is amazing. That's
amazing. When we knew. That's when we knew. Okay, maybe we got something here. Maybe we're gonna be around for a minute, because if that's what it takes, we're gonna be around. So we just kept on writing hit after hit after hit. Just kept on writing them.
And I got to ask you about my favorite song of y'all's, which is "Chase Me." Now, I know you and Ffun Pilot wrote that one together. How did you guys work in tandem? Because as somebody who's a music fan but not exactly musically inclined, I know songwriting and reading music is probably a task in itself. So how are you and Ffun able to work so well together when you guys wrote songs?
Well, it's very simple. Felton would always write a complete song, but he, for some reason, trusted me to take a copy of the track and see what I could do with it. And Chase Me was our first effort. He had a very rock-sounding, raw, runchy track going, and he had some very soft kind of popish lyrics over that. And I said, well, give me that track. Let me see. I got some ideas. And I'm rolling down the street. Once again, I'm always in motion when I get an idea. I don't know why. I'm either in the airport, on a plane, going down the street, going fishing, doing something. And I get the idea to a hook. And the song sounded like it was moving. It had somewhere to go, like it was just in a dang hurry. You know, the song's constantly from the downbeat, pratum, 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 pop, bang, boom, you know, like this song sounds like it's running away with something. And the first thing I thought about was, wait a minute, dancing, jogging shoes. Let me just go arrogant and tell this girl, basically flip the script. You want me, you got to chase after me, right? And that's what coined the phrase "chase me." And we wound up doing the video down in Santa Monica Beach on roller skates. But yeah, "Chase Me" was an arrogant song, written, this lyrics and melody written by myself, and I got the idea that from Felton's very fast-moving track and very rock guitar under the track kind of a thing, and it turned out, here we go again, got another hit.
And I remember the first time I heard that song, actually, believe it or not, was in Friday After Next. Now, you guys have gotten a lot of placements over the years with your music and different things. You know, of course, we have the Soul Sonic cover of Love Strain. What's it like to be able to have your music cross generations the way that it has?
Again, it's all the same. It's really all the same feeling that we're getting. It's all the same feeling. But it's a feeling that happens over and over again. And when you say, how was it? It's like one big Christmas after another. It's like having Christmas every 6 or 8, 10 months or 10 weeks, where you all of a sudden you got another hit and then another hit and another hit. When they did the song, I don't know, it just, we took it like, is this really happening? Is this really happening? Are these people really going to pay us that kind of a tribute, right? And cover this song like this? And I have to tell you, man, it's a blessing. It's a blessing in disguise. Once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but over and over again. And anybody will tell you, from the Midnight Stars to the SOS bands to the different bands at our level. Now, I'm not talking about the Kool and the Gangs and the Earth, Wind and Fires and the Commodores. These guys were on a whole nother level. They were pop. When you're down at our level, when you got a hit record, it affected your family, it affected your friends, it affected everybody, because we were just jumping up and down with joy, man, that someone would actually re-record and cover our music.
And I do have to ask about the legendary story behind Love Strain, which was, of course, covered on the Unsung, and apparently on all manners of TikTok and Instagram, the kids have just flocked to that. Did you and Felton imagine that, you know, a song that you guys had written, you know, whatever was going on back then, you know, it's no need to bring it up now, obviously, but did you imagine that kids would just gravitate to the story behind Love Strain the way that they did?
Yeah, I did, because Con Funk Shun also had another thing that we did that a lot of bands, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but Con Funk Shun had a knack for writing about actually what happened to us. Really, people say, well, that comes from the blues singers who tell their story and write their music and tell their whole story about whatever happened to them, with their wives and ex-wives and girlfriends and things like that. Well, Con Funk Shun, or I should say myself, I would look at a situation and I would literally say, I'm gonna write about that. And like we all knew on from Unsung and everywhere else, people that actually know the story, Love Train was an absolute true story as far as the lyrical content. It actually happened the way it says on the record. You know, all night I can't sleep, too hurt, too weak, I gotta call her up. Well, that whole thing was just a result of 2 guys being involved with the same girl. And the girl being as young as she was just euphoric over having these guys with hit records, coming by her house in tandem, one then the other. And of course, it couldn't last. And when it all fell apart, I had his track that he had given me, of course, with different lyrics. And I thought of the story that had just happened. I'm going to put it on this track. And I'm going to tell the story just like it happened. I went to a payphone and I called her. She wouldn't buzz me in at her apartment. She wouldn't let me up. And I said, well, let me, and black, the brothers don't say if by chance. We don't say that, that's not a black line, if by chance. So I was really hurt, and I was really, out of my mouth came these words, if by chance you let me just come up, because I need to talk to you. Of course, I altered it in the song, and I said, if by chance you let me come over, I'm down on the street, which I was, but I want to see you. So I wrote verbatim what happened. And everybody, especially the band members, knew what I was writing about. And of course, Ffun he was so upset, he wanted to retract his music. And we had our keyboard player was an avid weed smoker, and he waited till he finished to draw the weed on that, because he knew what he had to say was going to be paramount. And you can bleep it out, but I must tell you just what he said. He said, Ffun, and he's choking on his smoke and everything. He said, you would deny us a hit over this you and Michael going through. He said, man, where do you think hit records come from? This kind of shit right here. That's what is a hit record. You guys are writing music in real time, real life, and you don't even see it. And Ffun looked at him, and he looked at everybody. We were staring at him. He looked at everybody, and he just started bowing like a sultan. He says, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He said, you are absolutely right. And we all just laughed our asses off. We just busted up because we knew we had a hit record. We knew it. Based on what happened to Ffun and Shake and Dance with Me and the speed in which Mercury Records moved, we knew we had a hit record. And to make matters worse, the company disagreed. Oh, wow. And they put out other music off that album. And it wasn't until Bruno Mars came along and grabbed Love Train and made it a single that Love Train actually got its statistics and legs as a single.
Wow, that is amazing. So you mentioned about being there different tiers of bands back when you guys were active in cutting records. Just that level of competition, when you think about Earth, Wind and Fire, Parliament Funkadelic, Ohio Players, Commodores, you guys, Midnight Star, The Deal, so many others, just how are you guys able to maintain, not, I don't want to say, bite anybody else's style, but just how are you guys able to stay true to the Con Funk Shun formula? Because, it feels like a lot of music today is repetitive, but when I listen to the stuff that you guys were putting out in the 70s and 80s, I don't get that sense of, oh, this sounds like this song, this sounds like so-and-so, this sounds like so-and-so. Everybody had their own sound. Just how important was it for you guys to maintain not just, the originality in your music, but just in the sound and in your presentation as a whole?
Well, it was very important, but I'm going to be honest with you. We, by being California boys, Northern California boys, in San Francisco, Oakland, Sacramento, our approach to music and our chord structures and our approach to melodies were very different than that of the guys who came out of Memphis and Philadelphia and Los Angeles and Chicago. We were very corny. We were just corny. We were black, but because Ffun was raised on a totally different side of the tracks than me. So I brought the grit and Ffun brought the smooth. And the two things made us have a sound that was just a lot different and a little loose, a little more loosey-goosey and not so tightly wound as other groups had. And so you get a song from Ffun like straight from the heart. you get a song from Mike Cooper like "Got to Be Enough," with music written by Felton, written by me, "Chase Me," music written by Felton, "The Top End" written by me. You know, you get these songs from these two guys, one completely from, I'm gonna just say it, one from the white side of town. His dad was a doctor and his mom was a teacher, right? And he lived on the other side of town, all the nice houses and everything. That's where Felton came from. And me, I came from the absolute hood. I came from Floyd Terrace, Vallejo, California, the hood. So when you bring two cats like that together, either it ain't gonna work or you're gonna get what happened. Absolute magic. And Con Funk Shun had a slightly corny approach to music. And for some reason, people loved it. They just loved it.
And just to sort of put a bow on all of this, you guys have been, you, Felton, and Carl have been, you know, the constants over the years. You guys are still touring, you guys are still doing shows. Just when you see people who literally were adults, I mean, that were your peers when you guys were, you know, on the top of the charts, and now they're still coming to see you, and now they're bringing their kids, they're bringing their grandkids, they're bringing their godchildren and all of that. Just what does that do for you guys, you know, confidence and feeling, knowing that after all of this time, Con Funk Shun still matters to a lot of people?
Man, again, I'm long-winded, as you can see, but I'm gonna tell you something. That, again, that was a surprise to us. That was a surprise to us. For us, we're coming up on 57 years now. Mm-hmm. That was a surprise when you have to sign an autograph. When a 40 or 35-year-old, 40-year-old hands you an album to sign for his mother, and he or she is at your concert, that's a strange feeling. For somebody to say, my mom listened to you, my mom went to all your shows, and my mom this and my mom did that. You know, my dad, he can't, you know, my dad is this, my dad is that. And he says, my dad doesn't get around too much anymore, but he wanted you to sign these albums. And I'm thinking, what? Right? And to top that, I went to Japan, and a girl that I was seeing on one of those trips to Japan showed up to me. No, I should say, let me put it in proper perspective. A caramel colored version of her walked up to me and said, "Hi, I'm such and such's daughter." And I would look, and she says, "Do I look familiar to you?" and I said, "Well, yeah, you kind of look like your mom." She says, "What else do you notice?" Right? And I'm thinking, okay, I say, we're not going where I think I'm going. And all of a sudden, the girl and her husband popped out from around the corner, and they said, "Gotcha." They knew. They both of them knew that I was going to think that was my daughter. They both knew it. And she said, "Don't I look familiar to you?" I said, "Well, yeah, you kind of look like somebody I know." She said, "Well, you need to look a little closer." And I'm looking, I'm thinking, okay, this is not going to happen. And they saved me. They jumped out and said, "Gotcha." And the husband got a kick out of it. The black dude, he got a kick out. He said, "Man, I know." I know the whole story. "I know we got you good." I said, "Yeah, you sure did."
Oh,
so
man.
Yeah, man, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind, man. And I'm writing a book called On Love's Train, The Life, the Love, the Man, the Music. And I really need to get off my dime and get it done, because so much is still happening. I don't even know where I'm going to end the book, because so much is still happening. I was going to end the book with Barack Obama becoming president on the first term. And I wound up continuing writing the book. And then the whole Trump thing started. So I said, well, I got to write about how this Trump thing is affecting my music, affecting the music business. So, and then he won again. So I'm still writing the book. Mm-hmm. So, man, just keep on doing what you're doing, because we coming. Con Funk Shun ain't slowing down. We're not letting up. The new album is supposed to drop first quarter of next year. It's called The Smooth Jukebox. And brother, the boys still got it. We still got it, man. So you're going to love it.
All right, before I let you get out of here, tell everybody where they can find you guys, where they find you on social media. If they want to visit the website, get tickets, where can they find you?
Well, your first stop will be confunctionusa.com. That's the website. And for all those who are call themselves entrepreneurs or want to book Confunction, it's confunctionlive, live.com, right? And you can find us on Confunction live, Confunction for Real, the number 4 and REAL, Confunction for real on Instagram and Facebook.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Michael Cooper, co-founder, lead guitarist of Con Funk Shun. Sir, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me today. I really appreciate you.
Man, love you, man. Keep on doing what you're doing and get ready for that new music.
Yes, sir. And that's going to do it for this edition of On the Groove Line. We greatly appreciate y'all. As always, contact information for myself and Mike and Con Funk Shun will be in the description below. You guys, I think I'm going to take a break myself because, Thanksgiving's coming up. I mean, I know Coop's probably going to eat good. I know I'm looking forward to going over to my aunt to eat good. So this might be the last show we do before the holidays, and I wanted to end it with a bang. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. So thank you guys for watching and listening. As always, enjoy your holiday. Until the next time we talk, may you find the groove, or may the groove find you.
All right.